All right, I think, yeah. All right, let's begin. Bismillah. All right, Assalamu alaikum to everyone. Welcome back again to our Sunday meeting. Another beautiful halaqah and gathering. Inshallah, so we have Kolnijan from England joining us as panelist, and then Hikmatujan from Arizona are going to be with us, inshallah, this Sunday. All right. Welcome again. We're gonna continue again from where we just left off last week, and I think we stopped in the second cause and nine commands. We read it, but maybe just it would be also nice to reread it, and inshallah, then it would be also just a little bit of kind of just a recap from last week. And we talked about the rivalry and just Ines from as you remember. Last week and why we have this disagreement coming on, like what are the just root causes of this and why looking at this we don't see it and the maybe let's say some not just non-believers but just that it's like somehow like seen and observed like among the believers. And inshallah, it would be also nice to remember from last week, and then it will be also a nice kind of like a segue to continue the third cause altogether. All right, so without further ado, let's just reread the nine commands, and then we can also just listen panelists if they would like to share like maybe their thoughts, or if somehow like they remembered later on, like and after the last week's dars, and maybe just they can also share with us their thoughts again. All right. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Bismillah ar-Rahman. We're going to continue from second cause from last week. So the sole solution of the grave consequences of this dreadful cause. From again, like it's been reading from second cause from last week, nine commands. So to act positively, that is out of love for one's own way, the enmity of other ways on finding deficiency in others shall not interfere with one's ideas, they shall not preoccupy him. Rather, one attains sincerity and fulfills his duty as due by building agreement within the circles of Islam by considering that there are many bonds of unity therein that occasion love, brotherhood, and agreement, no matter what one's disposition may be. Three, finding guidance in the principle of fairness, that in terms of not interfering in others' ways, the right of everyone whose way is right is that they can say my way is right or more beautiful, but they cannot say that which is right is my way, or beauty is in my disposition, which implies the wrongness or ugliness of others' ways. Considering that agreement with the people of truth is a cause for God's enabling grace, tawfiq, and the locus of the dignity that is in religion. Also, understanding that at a time when the people of deviation and wrongness attack with the genius of a powerful congregation in the form of a metaphysical personality, which issues from solidarity, even the most powerful individual resistance against that metaphysical personality will be defeated, and thus protecting truthfulness against that dreadful metaphysical personality of deviation by fashioning a metaphysical personality through agreement among the people of truth. And in order to save truth from falsehoods, batil attack abandoning ones, lower soul and I-ness, falsely conceived dignity, and insignificant rivalrous feelings. It is so that, as narrated in the sound hadith, just as the truly religious Christians will come to an agreement with the people of the Quran at the end of times to resist unbelievers, Zanadik, as their common enemies. The people of religion and reality need not only be in sincere agreement with their core co-religionists, fellow wayfarers, and brothers with whom they follow the same way, but even have an agreement with the truly religious people of religion among the Christians by temporarily avoiding quarreling and dissenting over points of difference against their belligerently irreligious common enemies. All right, I think like let me just so hopefully just this somehow like it's been gathers all our thoughts and focusing on like this nine comments and going back to like let me just that why we need to follow this and where this like just the rivalry comes from, and of course I'm just this like nine comments having this like concept this dreadful cause of this maybe disagreement and how we should be behaving against all this maybe the disagreement like or the roots of that coming in, and how should we act, and any thoughts maybe Kulnajam or Hikmatajam would like to share with us that you remembered from last week, or would like to just maybe restate your like what you said, or maybe share like different kind of thoughts and opinions with us.
I'm having difficulty trying to remember what was said last time, so
Oh,
if Hikmet can
sure.
start, it would be good.
Maybe Melojem. Yeah, last week he was maybe he was quiet. Yeah, maybe he was. Yeah.
Uh, I was listening to some part, but I just wanted
Right.
to add a couple of things then instead of
Please. Yeah.
talking.
Please.
And
Go
then
ahead.
I'll remind us that there's just one thing that, that there is always some kind of, we have some disagreement and
Hmm.
looking at the positive way that my understanding from this to act positively and then looking at the positive way is just reminded me that the different parts of Risale that says any disagreement or just a discussion looking at one fourth is coming from divine determinant, which is Kader, that the one fourth is coming from our Nefes, Inus, and one fourth is Satan is just playing with us, not only for us and the brothers as well.
Right.
And there is one fourth left that is just the Nefes
Hmm.
of the other brother. And so for 25%, that's I always go like divided by four. That said that. Anyways, it's just being disagreeing with the brothers or just finding some kind of like shortcomings and providing or putting the shortcomings of the brothers or myself. Just look at the positive way that what I can learn. What is the Allah uh, Esma or the name is just here that is just showing me and teaching me. I think
Yeah.
that's what the positive way that I understood
Hmm.
from this to act positively. And when
Hmm.
you look at the positively, that you will understand that you're going to act positively, and then
Hmm.
the small things is not going to really hurt. And then we do have a lot of bonds. I mean, that's what I need to, I think, emphasize right now. But
Hmm.
I mean, Ustad already said that here, but I just wanted to put a little emphasis on that. We have
Hmm.
a lot of brotherhood and a number of agreements because
Hmm.
of the little tiny things and disagreeing with some of the parts, which
Hmm.
is not going to just, unless that it's just deviating from the boundary of Quran and Sunnah, what Allah says in the Quran and
Hmm.
what Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says in his Sunnah and action. It is not just deviating from that. We can just sit down and talk about it and just move on with the common sense. And it doesn't matter that what his idea, and then if there is some kind of like discrepancy and then the ideas is wrong, maybe in the beginning of that no one can understand easily because of Inus again, and
Hmm.
also that the Satan is playing and determinant like a Qadar is just clear that we need to face, and Allah is just looking at that when the Asma is um, just showing us what or teaching what Esma is teaching us and how we are going to act is just one of the things. that we need to learn and we need to act based on this. And this is all I can say right now. And
Yeah.
I guess well, I always look at this way. For instance, when I have a disagreement with Kolinabi, I
Mhm.
look at it that I divided everything on the four,
Mhm.
and then look at what the Quran and Sunnah and says. If we have a
Mhm.
deviation, then we can do what we decided like 2 months ago. We were discussing, and we need to do some kind of meshweret and
Mhm.
talk about it, and then help each
Mhm.
other, because we have a
Yeah.
love, we have brotherhood, and our Allah is one, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam one, our religion is one. Okay,
Mhm.
so the rest is just a little tiny deviation
Mhm.
that we can just come into agreement easily. That's
Mhm.
what I wanted to say right now.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Bediuzzaman. Appreciate it. Konuşacağım. Anything?
I don't really have that much
Uh-huh.
to add, except what comes to mind is,
Mhm.
Ustad's discussion about not sinking someone's ship.
Mhm.
If there are 20 people on a ship and there is just one person there that is
Mhm.
guilty, you don't sink the whole ship if there are
Mhm.
19 innocent people.
Yeah.
And so I think when we look at believers,
Mhm.
we get this, we do a projection. We think
Mhm.
that they should be perfect in every respect,
Mhm.
because that's what we're projecting from our own desires for ourselves. We think that we're perfect, or we know actually that we're not perfect, but we want to be.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
we want everyone to be like us. We want everyone to be able to think in the way that we think,
Mhm.
to act in the way that we act, to understand things in the way that we understand.
Mhm.
It was brought home to me today. Maybe this is why I may seem a little bit vacant today, but having a dispute online with
Mhm.
someone close to you,
Mhm.
um, through WhatsApp or through some other platform, and you're not in the same room, you can't
Mhm.
see the face, you can't see the body language, um, and yet we expect so much. We expect
Yeah.
people to understand exactly how we're feeling,
Right. Right.
and yet we don't take into consideration how they're feeling.
Right.
We don't know what kind of battles they're fighting inside.
Mhm.
We don't know what kind of anxieties they have.
Yeah.
We expect believers not to be in a bad mood, not to be feeling down, not to feel low.
Mhm.
We have so many expectations which we project. They're all projections from the self.
Yeah.
We have to do what we have to do and
Mhm.
bear in mind that no one is perfect.
Yeah.
And that just as we know our own mistakes, we know our own shortcomings, we have to, although we have to have husn zan, we have to
Mhm.
realize that that person also may have problems. That person may have this way of understanding or that way of understanding. And then we have to connect on levels that we can openly agree. And if
Mhm.
there are points where I know that you differ, if there are issues which I know on those issues, your understanding diverges from mine, I have to take that on board and I have to ignore that. I
Mhm.
have to ignore that difference. That difference is there for a reason anyway. Um, so we have to look at the road ahead. We have to look at what we can do together,
Mhm.
and we have to unite on the things that unite us. And on the things where we differ,
Mhm.
then, why should I privilege my opinion over yours if we
Mhm.
disagree?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think we have to adopt a kind of blindness,
Mhm.
um, with respect to other people's shortcomings.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Yeah, just perfect. Yeah, just great way of explanation. I really like the yeah, just Merojams and your yeah, just per angle and just perspective. It's really kind of just nice to know this, and inshallah, just may Allah help us to practice this, and it's superb. Like it's been the way that like as you explained this, and it's been a kind of nowadays like a common practice even among academia. I guess like just I mean, a lot of people are now just preferring and choosing to have a classroom in person rather than having online or just Zoom meetings. Even like the Zoom meetings are somehow like it's now kind of getting a little old because of just like what you just said. So I would like to see the body language. So because like sometimes you're just talking and everything, and you want to be closer to person to understand when you have a disagreement or when you would like to see like oh what you meant, what he meant, what she meant. So those are very important. And just projecting it is like just too much of assumption and everything, and just too much of like a demand. And then of course I'm just like Bediuzzaman said, yeah, just so just try to look at the big picture. So just not to get lost in details, and I know always just make emphasis on that. So we have too many of variables that are just putting us all together rather than just having just disagreements and everything. All right, thank you so much, and also just isn't it like it's amazing? Like it's I mean even the last part. So also start mentioned that so we can even have common grounds with Christians and even like I mean just other religious kind of like in the groups when it comes to, of course, I mean, just now agreement, rather than like going against a lot of like, I mean, just now like a negative kind of just, attack coming on the believers. So just, so like, we have to forget, of course, some of those, even like, I mean, just our lower soul and I-ness and everything. And we have too many, of course, I mean, just common grounds that we can meet. All right, so let's continue, inshallah, the third course, and then maybe we can just regather our thoughts, and in the meantime, so and we can share maybe just more ideas and more thoughts and feedback. All right, third course, the differing of the people of truth is not due to lowliness and lack of resolve, himma, nor is the agreement of the people of deviation due to high resolve. Rather, the differing of the people of guidance is due to the abuse of high resolve, and the agreement of the people of deviation is due to weakness and impotence, as issuing from lack of resolve. What leads the people of guidance from high resolve to its abuse, and what leads the people of guidance from high resolve to its abuse, and therefore to differing and rivalry, arises from ambition for spiritual rewards and discontent with one's fulfillment of otherworldly duties, which are considered praiseworthy traits from the point of view of the hereafter. That is, saying, let me earn this spiritual reward, let me offer righteous guidance to these people, let them listen to me. One assumes a rivalrous position toward his true brother before him who seriously needs his love, assistance, brotherhood, and help, saying, why do my disciples go to him? Why do I not have as many disciples as he does? His I-ness finds an opportunity in this and causes him to incline toward love of status, hubulja, which is a blameworthy trait. This causes sincerity to escape and opens the door of ostentation. So the medicine for this mistake, this wound, and this dreadful spiritual disease is this. The the sublime real's pleasure is attained with sincerity, not the multitude of followers and abundant success. For because those things belong to the duty of divinity, they are not to be sought, but may sometimes be given. I think this is important. The sublime realm's pleasure is attained with sincerity, not the multitude of followers and abundant success. For because those things belong to the duty of divinity, they are not to be sought, but may sometimes be given. Yes, sometimes a single word becomes a cause for salvation and an occasion for divine pleasure, one should not focus on the importance of quantity so much, for sometimes one man's guidance may be an occasion for divine pleasure as much as 1,000 men's guidance does. Furthermore, sincerity and adherence to truth mean being in favor of Muslims to benefit, no matter from where and whom. Or else the thought of let them take lessons from me and make me earn spiritual rewards is a trickery of the lower soul, nafs, and aynus. O human being who is ambitious for spiritual rewards and discontented about his fulfillment of otherworldly duties. Some prophets have come, and although nobody has followed them other than a limited number of people, they have still received the unlimited spiritual reward of the sacred duty of prophethood. In that case, attainment lies not in the multitude of followers, but in earning divine pleasure. Who are you to forget your duty and interfere in the duty of divinity by saying with such ambition, let everybody listen to me? Making others accept and gathering people around you is the duty of the sublime realm. Fulfill your duty and do not interfere in God's duty. Oh, let's finish this. Yeah. Moreover, those who earn spiritual rewards for the speakers of truth and reality by listening to them are not human beings alone. The sublime realms, conscious creatures, spiritual beings, and angels have filled the cosmos and live in it all around. Since you want spiritual rewards abundantly, take sincerity as the foundation and think about divine pleasure so that the individual words in the air coming out of your mouth come to life, become alive with sincerity and veracious intention, and enter the ears of unlimited conscious beings, illuminating them and earning spiritual rewards for you. For say, you said, Alhamdulillah, all praise be to God. With the speech, millions of big and small words of all praise be to God are written in the air by God's leave, because all-wise engraver does not do anything futile and wasteful. He has created as many ears as would be necessary to listen to that multitude of blessed words. If those words in the air come to life with sincerity and righteous intention, they enter the ears of spiritual beings, each like a delicious fruit. If divine pleasure and sincerity did not give life to those words in the air, they would not be heeded. The spiritual rewards would therefore be confined to the words in the mouth. May the Quran memorizers who are upset that their voices are not exceedingly beautiful and whose listeners are few take notice of this. What a beautiful piece, what a beautiful part, and seriously. And it's a great lesson to take, and the quantity, quality, just how beautifully he described this. The third cause, and I didn't want to just basically just like gonna stop somewhere, like gonna go back, and I just wanted to just observe and read it further. And this is a great kind of like just the writing and his style, and even like just going in detail, and how great like just giving his lesson. And I really would like to listen you guys like just into just what you guys are going to think about this part, the quantity quality versus and everything, and just being, and what should we what type of course I'm just now guidance we have to have, and or like an aim, and sincerity, like how he elevates the sincerity, and compared to, of course, I'm just other duties or other thought, different kind of like maybe just like thoughts and feelings and that we have and experience at the same time simultaneously. And But then like just getting rid of them and only focusing only just having only one target, one goal in life, and how beautiful. Maybe we can go with the same order. So Hikmet Hocam, would you like to go first?
Alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Just
Sorry, I missed the end of the second cause. I wanted to ask the question about the footnote.
certainly, please.
Not to my question is very briefly.
Mhm.
Uh, uh, do we see any indication, any sign of this, the meaning of this hadith? Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he said at the end of the time, the real Christians,
Yeah.
truly religious people of religion among the Christians, they will unite with Muslims. Do we see any indication of this meaning? So that are we at the end of the time we
Mhm.
can maybe it comes to mind.
Sure.
So,
Mhm.
how should we understand the meaning of this hadith of
Mhm.
Rasul Salam uniting with the yeah, real Christians? I mean, the religious people of
Mhm.
yeah, of
Mhm.
Christianity.
Sure. Mhm. Kolajam, would you like to?
And Hocam, in
Yeah,
UK, do you
maybe.
see any indication of this meaning? Yeah.
Um, it's difficult to say really,
Mhm.
because my experience in the last 10, 15 years hasn't been really one which could lead me to produce any meaningful answers about this in particular. That's because of my own circumstances. I live in a very small place with not many people, and my work is such that I don't really have contact, but I know people who do. And unfortunately, on a larger scale, if you look on the macro scale,
Mhm.
Muslims in the UK have generally aligned themselves with left-wing politicians,
Mhm.
and are not really
Same here.
aligning
Same
with,
here. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
because left-wing politicians and people of a leftist leaning who have leftist leanings, um, in a sense, they know how to work their audience, and
Mhm.
they will appeal to everyone who is seen as either minoritized or ostracized,
Mhm.
or whether that's ethnically, racially, or in any particular way. So there's
Mhm.
always been a kind of alignment between left-wing politics
Mhm.
and Muslims. Muslims usually vote for left-wing parties.
Mhm.
Um, and there is no kind of partisanship, uh, or there's no kind of alignment between Muslims and Christians, really,
Mhm.
in the utilitarian sense. In other words, is it for our best social political interests to align with those who are closest to us in one sense? And that there is no one closer actually than a truly religious Christian. In
Mhm.
theory, there is no one closer, but we tend, because the truly religious Christians, I think that in America this is the case, they are mostly on the political right.
Mhm.
I think that's the case in the USA.
Mhm.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Nazif. Is that the
Oh,
case?
well, yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, just mostly kind of like in a popular culture. So the left-wing party, like is in here, is always using the popular kind of just, statements and everything. And of course,
Yeah.
just somehow. But I guess again, you're totally right. So like it's been this most of the Muslims are mistaken with the Islamic kind of culture. And like it's been that the part that we're reading, the practicing, it's like totally a little kind of different. So they're using those type of kind of popular words and everything to get their attention, and somehow they believe that. So they're just somehow supporting Muslim people. As a matter of fact, no, they're just supporting some sort of kind of popular kind of culture, whatever that is. Just it's being heard. But yeah, but over here, like in this when I had like a little bit of kind of experience with maybe when we had this gathering, I should say. So, but when I lived in Alabama, so just for 4 years, and we had this weekly kind of just meetings with a group of people from a church, And I remember like in a one week when we were reading from 15th letter, and then the part that Ustad explains that how Christians are going to go against like an antichrist with Muslims and yada yada, that treatise, if you remember. So they loved that part. And let me let me tell you, they even after that night, so this gentleman who was a priest or that fatherly figures, that his friend, he even made copies and he handed out at his church, and some of like his friends, they even loved it. And they started even like sharing like how beautiful it is explained, and about like that it's just the end of time like coming in, and how we should be kind of uniting. So somehow I felt it, but it only happened only once or twice that I can say among the true kind of believers or followers of, maybe I should say, Allah, kind of in just in that direction. So, but other than that, outside in popular culture, no, we don't. Yeah, we don't see that much of kind of things happening at the moment, I believe. But that's my experience.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, America is much more complex, I think, from
Hmm.
on the Christian
Hmm.
denominational front. I mean, I
Hmm.
think it's much more complex a situation
Right.
than in the UK, obviously, with, you
Hmm.
know, 3 or 4 times the population.
Hmm.
And also the makeup of the population, the demographics are very, very different.
Different, yeah.
But ordinary Muslims here would generally align with left-wing politicians. They wouldn't think
Hmm.
really of aligning with
Hmm.
Christians. And I mean, Christians here, I think also the
Hmm.
complexion, the makeup of the Christian community here is very different. I mean, you
Hmm.
have left-wing Christians and you have right-wing Christians, and
Hmm.
these political alignments, unfortunately, in the future,
Hmm. Hmm.
may become important, and we may have to. In
Hmm.
America, particularly, I think the
Hmm.
Muslims in America,
Hmm.
all of these madrasas and all of these, institutions
Hmm.
and foundations that up until now have really been supported by the liberal American liberals or
Hmm.
left wing. I,
Hmm.
I think
Hmm.
liberal there means something very, very different to what it means here in the UK,
Right.
but basically left wing
Hmm.
politics. I think they're going to have to have a rethink on that, and however
Hmm.
unpalatable it may be,
Hmm.
and however disconcerting it may be, Muslims in the USA may have to come to some kind of an agreement with the more conservative Christians on the right wing,
Hmm.
because they are in the ascendancy.
Right.
So it's difficult really for me to be able to judge, particularly about the American situation. But here in the UK, we have things like interfaith dialogue, which I think is largely a waste of time.
Hmm.
To be honest, because the real issues
Hmm.
on which we should be aligning and uniting are
Hmm.
never ever discussed.
Hmm.
We are really facing very, very severe challenges of identitarian politics, in this postmodern period.
Hmm.
This whole neo-Marxist push
Hmm.
for culture wars, basically.
Yeah.
And we do need to align with the really sincerely religious Christians against these things,
Hmm.
and we're not doing that.
Yeah.
Um, because basically they say, well, these are conservative, they're on the right, they are anti-immigration, they are anti-Muslim, they are
Hmm.
Islamophobic,
Hmm.
which to a certain extent may be true, but again, we need to unite on the things which unite us.
Hmm.
And there are lots of things which unite us. There are things which also disunite us, but we
Yeah.
also have that, dilemma, and we have that disconnect within
Hmm.
our own community as Muslims as well.
Hmm.
Our biggest problem here today is not really with unbelievers; it's with Salafis and Wahhabis.
Yeah.
Um, that's a huge problem, for Muslims in this country. That's the main fault line. Is
Hmm.
not belief and unbelief. The main fault line is the problems we have in our own community.
Hmm. Yeah. 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 You're total right. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. Uh, Especially just that, yeah, like you just said, like identification, and just even like the definition of the words, and just like somehow missing in this like in a popular culture, and people are like in his mind are like so scattered. And so they're even like, I mean, just meddling with just people's like attention and just like always like pushing their like an agenda like every day and giving like as many people as like some sort of kind of like a shiny objects like different words, different this and that. Oh, just talk about this, talk about that. And just you're saying like it's what a lot of people are just talking about what the definition of like a woman, definition of men, and that is like so crazy and making like people so busy, and then at the same time like it's been dividing them just more and more and more. Oh my God, like it's kind of like it's getting kind of crazier and crazier. So getting lost like among this is so easy. And yeah, may Allah help us like seriously and just to unite us in among like I mean just especially find our ways like in common ground and among us and also among the believers, maybe I should say. Yeah, awesome. Anyone else would like to comment on this, Hikmet Hocam, about this topic?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that about what's happening in this war right now,
Mhm.
especially like a lot past 1 year, 1.5 years. That there's people are waking up clearly, and this hadith is just coming into just clear. I mean, now think about that. We had a lot of protest against a number of issues in the different universities in the whole United States, in the whole wide world. And
Mhm.
this is clearly telling that some people are already started just looking at Quran. Actually, that the young generation is much more attentive or just lean towards Islam and try to understand Islam because of the fact that what happened that past 1 year, 1.5 years. Actually, people in these states is really up right now, and at least my understanding and my seeing as well. And they are coming and asking that some books and why are you so strong, and we need to understand that what is happening and how uh, we can find a um, commonality between these religion, or what do I need to do.
Mhm.
Frankly, that I saw that the number of universities, I don't need to mention their names right now, and
Mhm.
here as well in Arizona, there's a lot of universities just to protest a number of issues, and they do understand that actually Christianity or Islam, and or they understand, they want to understand Islam, but the main issue or enemy is completely different, and they need to unite and they need to get together. That's what they understood or they are sharing.
Mhm.
And today I didn't go to church at all. I don't know what the church's issues right now, but in the universities I saw a number of students, faculty members, and staff. They're talking about they're trying to learn Islam,
Mhm.
and because they are true religious Christian, or they are true religious people, and they want to understand what is happening, what is really exactly is the world is, and what are their enemies. And they understood that Islam is not their enemies because of all these years, Islam was the number one enemy for whole wide world. And now they changed the situation and they are getting together and trying to understand. That's at least my experience and what I learned from the universities and from the whole wide world. And if you look at it in the UK as well, everywhere, and there's a lot of protest against the number of issues that they understood that their enemy, who they are enemies are. I mean, this is not just a one culture, one things, or just one people or group or something. They understood that something is happening in the whole wide world. They
Mhm.
were sleeping. We were all sleeping. Maybe that
Right.
this hadith is just now getting people together, and then it's just becoming obvious. Not that they
Mhm.
they know the hadith, but um, you maybe that in coming 2, 3 years or 4 years, maybe that people are gonna get together, or some of them are already got together already that we don't know. And I
Mhm.
know that there are some priests, and they are reading Jevshan.
Mhm.
There are some priests yet they are talking clearly that the Jevshan in there when they are starting talking. And then
Mhm.
I went to last month or 2 months ago, that the 1.5 months ago, I went
Mhm.
to Mormon church, and they invited me, and then I went there, and then I wanted to listen, and they were clearly talking about Egyptian. They didn't say Egyptian, but they were just yeah, exactly. And so we might not know exactly what's happening, but what I wanted to say that to answer this question, it's happening. All these true religious from Isavis and Islam, Muslims are getting together, even though that this is not a clear thing that is just we can see it obviously, but it is happening. That's what I wanted to say.
So thank you. Thank you.
As an answer.
Yeah. Thank you.
Can I just say something
Please, yeah, go ahead.
in response to that?
Sure.
The problem is that when people start to wake up and start to ask questions, the first place that they think of going is to the local masjid to speak to the imam. And often that's where their interest is comes to an end after that.
Yeah.
Because our imams are not trained properly. Our imams also receive their sermons weekly from a certain place in the Middle East.
Yeah.
And so it's very interesting that people are finding their way, and of course Allah will lead whomever He wishes in His own way. We can't do anything about that. But there needs to be a kind of welcoming committee out there for these people who are coming with questions about Islam. And unfortunately, the welcoming committee that exists at the moment is completely dysfunctional to the aim of spreading Islam, as the default setting of creation that we always call it. It's never ever presented in a way that would be conducive to those people coming a second time or a third time. So I'm not being pessimistic. I think I'm being realistic because I've seen it so many times.
Yeah.
Inshallah, Allah leads whom He wishes. We have to hope for the best, but what we have to do is to try to ensure, first and foremost, that in our own community we are all reading from the same page, and we're not. So, we have to unite with other Muslims, and put the difficulties aside. And this whole treatise that we're reading now is about not seeing our differences and not making those differences a point of contention, or a sticking point. Trying to see past these differences. I mentioned Wahhabis and Salafis. If there are things upon which we can unite, then that's fine. But very often the differences are showcased and points of convergence are ignored. And it's very much a case of my way is the only way.
Yeah.
No, my way is the best way for me. And I think it's the best way, otherwise I wouldn't follow it, but it's not the only way, clearly.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we don't work like that as Muslims. Unbelievers work very well together. And then they may hate each other, but they will unite for the sake of a common goal. We don't do that. This is why Ustad has written this. This is why he tells us to read Sincerity fortnightly, every 2 weeks. So I mean, I understand the question, and Jesme's question. It was a good question, but I still take it back to the fact that even if it's the end of time, we have to put our own house in order. As well, we can unite with those Christians who will unite with us. But this is addressing us as Muslims first and foremost, I think.
First and foremost, yeah. Rather than I totally understand. I totally agree.
And to go back to bring it back to the original subject of you're talking about quality and quantity. Even quality and quantity. Okay, we have to make sure that what we're doing is quality, right? So if I have no one listening to me, I may have to check the quality of what I'm saying. Am I saying the right things? If I'm shouting, if I'm being acting without hikmah, then if I've checked that, and if I'm doing what I think is right, and if other people are saying, well, you're doing the right thing, the quantity, who listens to me is not important at all. if you imagine, a postman, right? Imagine I'm a postman,
Mhm.
and on my daily route,
Mhm.
my daily job is to deliver letters to 500 houses, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Now, if I deliver the letters to 500 houses, I'm not going to go back the next day and say, "Oh, did you read what I posted? Did you read the letter that I posted?"
Mhm.
It's not my business for them, for me,
Yeah.
it's none of my business whether they read it or not. My job as a postman is to put that letter through
Mhm.
their letterbox
Mhm.
and make sure that, it gets there in one piece.
Yeah.
Make sure I post it properly. Make sure
Okay.
that it falls inside, it doesn't get trapped,
Mhm.
and that's it.
Mhm.
I don't go back and say, "Well, did you read the letter?"
Yeah.
None of my business.
Yeah.
So if I'm talking as I'm talking now,
Mhm.
I don't know how many people are in this room, right? 17,
Yeah.
18 people.
Mhm.
They may be hearing but not listening.
Mhm.
None of my business.
Yeah.
My business is to say what I need to say,
Yeah.
hopefully
Yeah.
in the most wisdom aligned way, hikmetli,
Yeah. Yeah.
possible. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
Sometimes I
Yeah.
may
Mhm.
get heated, sometimes I mean, it doesn't matter. The thing
Mhm.
is, I can't dictate who's going to take any
Mhm.
points from what I say. I'm
Yeah.
not going to go around and check and say, "Did you hear that? Did you listen to that? Do
Yeah.
you agree with me?"
Yeah.
None of my business whether people agree with me or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not my business. I have to do what I have to do in the best possible way. And I
Mhm.
have to constantly check to see, is it still, the way that I should be doing it?
Mhm.
Am I posting the letters, or am I just leaving them half hanging out of the letterbox, so that, wind could take it, or a dog could get it, or something could happen? I have
Mhm.
to make sure that I'm doing my job as well as I can do it. The response to that, none of my business.
Yeah.
None of my business at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Here, here. Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with you. Yeah. Hikmet Hocam, anything would you like to add?
Yeah, Colin, we already discussed the third cows. And anyways, it's just I want to add that one thing is that whatever we do, I mean, just that if we think about the pleasure of Allah, the
Mhm.
rest comes that whatever Allah. And I was
Mhm.
always telling my students as well that, hey, just do your best and the rest, leave it to Allah. Whatever you're gonna get, Allah knows. Yes, exactly. Just but do your uh, things or responsibility, and
Mhm.
then leave it to Allah. And
Mhm.
the third cause is just clearly telling us that we can do whatever we can, but
Mhm.
our goal, major goal, is to get ikhlas, right?
Yeah.
To earn
Mhm.
ikhlas. The
Mhm.
rest is that even though you wanted to get
Mhm.
you wanted to have 1,000 followers instead of 5 followers,
Mhm.
but today's world is different.
Mhm.
And we all, that's what we were just saying, Hubbuja, is that the status is important, and everybody needs to listen to me. I need to be in front line, and those type of thing that is coming from INS and other things as well. But
Mhm.
the diseases that we have as a human, spiritual diseases, heart diseases, those are really that there's five main diseases that we carry in
Mhm.
Risale. It's already clear that one of them is the Hupuja, that
Mhm.
this status is just telling us that how many people that you have that are following you, and then what can you do with those old people? And we all discuss in quality and quantity as well. That Colin, Abi, and you guys already explained everything. But if
Mhm.
we put that the number one rank in, like our major goal is the pleasure of Allah, the
Mhm.
rest comes really just nothing.
Mhm.
And the rest is not helping as well. And
Mhm.
I was giving this example. I will give you guys again. One of the faculty members who has like a 200 or 300 papers, or just the 50
Mhm.
lines that are registered and then died, passed away, it's gone. And one of the other faculty members, man, this guy has like 300 papers, and he was this and
Mhm.
that, and
Mhm.
everything is just until last week this we discussed, right? or
Yeah,
2 weeks
yeah,
ago, we discussed
yeah,
until the grave, the door of the grave.
yeah,
Everybody's gone. The
yeah,
only thing that is coming with you is your amal, right?
yeah.
So, or that's the ikhlas.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the most important part. It is really connected iman, really
Mm-hmm.
well connected with iman. And when
Mm-hmm.
we talk about the iman is the number one nur and quwwat, right? And ikhlas
Mm-hmm.
is the same thing. Ustad is saying the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Ikhlas is number one, and then the most
Mm-hmm.
just quwwat, right? And
Yeah.
then nur,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just well connected. The rest is just going to be here, and it's gonna be completely be out um,
Yeah.
until that you the door of the grave.
Mm-hmm.
So if we just put the major goal, and this is the number one, that Rizai ilahi, or just ikhlas, or pleasure of Allah, and the rest is just Allah's job. I mean, we cannot interfere his
Mm-hmm.
job at all.
Mm-hmm.
As Kolinabi was saying, he said, let's do our job in the best way possible. The
Mm-hmm.
rest is Allah's job. I mean, we cannot do anything. Even if you want to do that, we cannot do
Mm-hmm.
that. Okay, we don't
Yeah.
have the power or anything to interfere. Instead
Mm-hmm.
of just having hard time and difficulties and challenges, and
Mm-hmm.
being really pessimistic instead of optimistic, and just be optimistic and do your job and leave it to Allah. This is going to be really helpful, and it is going to make you happy as well in this
Mm-hmm.
world too. Not only for just the hizmat that we are trying to do anyways, or just trying to explain what Allah is, why are we here, where we're
Mm-hmm.
going, to other people, but also it's just going to be helping a lot to us, to
Mm-hmm.
our family and close relatives as well. And
Mm-hmm.
especially the emphasis pleasure is going to be really, really helpful, especially in this world, in the material world. I was giving an example. You can get a Lamborghini or Ferrari in an hour when you draw it, and you're going to be just, okay, this is it. 1 hour, and then it's going to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to get the true pleasure without painless pleasure, this is something that we need to, or I always say, put every action that you are doing is just Allah's pleasure is number one. And so based on that, everything that you're trying to do, if you put, or if I put this one, that's what I'm saying. Allah's pleasure is number one, which is ikhlas, and well connected with iman. The rest is coming. That's Allah's job. I mean, we cannot do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And today's young generation, and also other people as well, if you don't satisfy their heart and mind and spirit, you
Mm-hmm.
cannot have, or you cannot do or help him at all by buying a car, buying 1,000 cars, or just a house and everything, or providing him, even if your son and daughter, I'll get you just a Ferrari. I mean, or buy you two different villas, or just a house, or whatever that he wants. That, okay, 5 different iPhones every year. That the new iPhones that I'll get it. As long as you just satisfy
Mm-hmm.
his or her mind, heart, and spirit, and everybody is going to be pleased with
Mm-hmm.
them. I was just listening one of my brother's father today, and he said his father gave him only just 2 liras, I guess, to go to the Bosphorus University with bus. And
Mm-hmm.
he said, I don't want to give him that the more money so that he can just
Mm-hmm.
spoiled. And
Mm-hmm.
he was going there, but he lost that 2 liras at that time. And he started going back and walking with the
Mm-hmm.
like a really cold weather and everything. One of the
Mm-hmm.
bus
Mm-hmm.
driver just stopped and then pick him up. And then he
Mm-hmm.
said, this is what happened. I lost these 2 liras, but I had only 2 liras, and I
Mm-hmm.
had to go back and walk home. So what I wanted to say, but they were happy. Everybody was
Mm-hmm.
happy. Father was happy and son was happy. He
Mm-hmm.
was not just thinking that my father is just giving me pain or punishment.
Mm-hmm.
He was
Mm-hmm.
thinking that, okay, his father is helping me. So
Mm-hmm.
basically that uh, just clearly explaining what the world is, what the people are, and what is our major goal compared to any other thing. We're not here for eating. We're not here for just doing something else. And we are not accident. We are not a mistake. We are
Yeah.
here for a purpose, right?
Yeah.
This is what I was telling my students, and as well as that, like this is reminding me as well. So
Right.
for when you have the major purpose and goal, the
Yeah.
rest is coming really just
Mhm.
trivial thing.
Yeah.
Okay, this is I need to stop. Okay,
Yeah,
Assalamualaikum.
no,
All right.
thank you, Hocam. Really appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. Great example. Hocam, any last
No, I
comment?
was
Yeah.
really, really
Okay.
enjoying Hikmet's
Yeah, yeah,
when he said, that we're not here for nothing.
right.
In fact, actually, it doesn't matter what you do in life, right? It doesn't
Mhm.
matter whether you clean toilets or
Right.
whether you teach in university. You
Mhm.
do what you do
Yeah.
for the sake of Allah. In other words, you do what you do as well as you can. You
Mhm.
use what you've got to the best of your possible ability
Mhm.
because you've been given it for a reason. You're here for a reason.
Mhm.
As
Mhm.
Mevlana says, you can't just do nothing.
Yeah.
Whatever you do is going to be a reaction. Whatever you do is going to be a sign. Whatever you
Mhm.
do is going to be a manifestation of some emotion or some feeling. So you will
Mhm.
be doing something, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And there will be a response.
Mhm.
So it's
Mhm.
best to do it for the sake of Allah. It's best to do it so that, inshallah, He is
Mhm.
pleased,
Inshallah.
rather than trying to please, a
Mhm.
million people, a
Mhm.
billion
Mhm.
people, or everything in creation. It's
Mhm.
impossible anyway.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
impossible. Sometimes it just doesn't happen.
Mhm.
You say something and no one is pleased by it. But if it's haq,
Mhm.
then it's
Yeah.
haq. If you've said
Yeah.
it in a hikmetly way, then
Mhm.
that's fine. If no
Mhm.
one accepts it, none of your business.
Yeah. Yeah. But as long as we have pure and clean and nice motivation, right? So we should
Inshallah,
keep it.
inshallah. I
Inshallah.
mean,
Inshallah. Yeah.
we can never
Mhm.
know how sincere we are, but if we
But
know
yeah.
something needs to be
Mhm.
done, we do
Mhm.
it.
Yeah, but
Um,
do
and,
we
and
have to keep it like an is in line lined up or something, or like do our best? Yeah, yeah,
yes, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
you have to do it, in the
Hmm.
best way possible.
This best way.
And if depending on the audience, if it's like public speaking,
Hmm.
I'm not going to come to one of your really high level economics lectures because I know nothing about,
Yeah.
economics. So if you start
Yeah.
talking to me about, I don't
Mhm.
know, anything to do with economics, actually,
Yeah.
it has to be very, very simple. So if I come to you and say,
Yeah.
can you tell me, what is money? How did
Mhm.
money come about? You
Mhm.
would have to really condescend and speak at my level,
Right. Right.
which is very, very, very low when it comes to things to
Thank
do
you.
with economics. So yes, I mean, you're not going to
Mhm.
start talking to me about,
Mhm.
I don't know, I can't even think
Mhm.
of a, a difficult
Quantitative
subject,
easing. Yeah.
compound interest, for example. I
Yeah.
have no
Yeah.
idea
Yeah.
whether that's even a thing.
Hmm.
Um, but
Hmm.
you'd have to tailor what you say.
Hmm.
In other words, you can't just say, "Well, I did it for the sake of Allah." I started talking about
Hmm.
compound interest, but he's an idiot. He didn't understand anything.
Yeah.
Then that would be clearly wrong. So yeah,
Hmm.
the motivation has to be with
Hmm.
hikmat,
Yeah.
with
Hmm.
wisdom.
Hmm.
But don't worry about the
Hmm.
outcome. It's none of our business, really.
Yeah, yeah, inshallah. And think of like as he's just over here. So maybe just like in a one person. So if you reach like in that level of, and then if you somehow like in a guide like in a one person, then thousand men like in may come like in because of him or because of that person. So just I mean it's a very nice like kind of balanced, right? So like it's I mean just always like just check ourselves.
That's a
Well,
really great point. Sorry, I know we're out of time,
oh no,
but
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was teaching on a course recently, and one of my colleagues,
Hmm.
he had regularly 40 students, and at the end of
Hmm.
the course, he said, "I don't know what I've done wrong, but I didn't get any feedback from my students. No one said whether they
Hmm.
enjoyed it or whether it was challenge, whether it
Hmm.
was a great course or blah blah blah."
Hmm.
Anyway, a couple of months later, he had an email from one of his students, and the student said, "I wasn't able to attend your course, but I listened to all of the videos, all of the recordings that have been made of them, and
Hmm.
I just want to tell you that it changed my life completely."
Oh, how nice.
So
Wow, mashallah.
then
Yeah.
he told me about this. This friend of mine
Yeah.
told me about this. I said, look, you were complaining that out of 40 people, no one
Uh-huh.
listened to you. You didn't get any positive feedback. I don't know whether he even had a feedback form, but
Yeah.
no one got in touch with you to say whether they'd enjoyed it, whether they'd benefited it. And now,
Yeah.
2 or 3 months afterwards, you
Yeah.
may have changed one person's life. How many
Yeah.
people's lives will he change now? You don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. 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 Mashallah. Yeah.
So this was a living example. It happened just this week, actually.
Yeah, yeah, mashallah, yeah, how nice. Yeah, see, I mean, just like even like it's been social life and religious life and just yeah, if you can touch one person and then like it's been that you have no idea like what kind of like a snowball effect it's gonna make. Yeah, inshallah. Wow, wow. Yes, and but of course, as we just said, it's Allah's duty. Oh, we're out of time. Out of time. Yeah, it was really kind of nice, like listening to you guys. Like, just but maybe it would be best like to just stop for now. And I would like to invite Jismujam to recite some Quran and make dua, inshallah. So then we can end this week's meeting.
إن شاء الله.
Yeah.
سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب اللهم اجعلنا من المخلصين المخلصين من عبادك المخلصين المخلصين آمين. Oh Allah, make us among those servants who are mukhlis, who are sincere and who are protected their sincerity by Allah. Amin.
Mm.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.